Unluckily, we can't see the mountain clear. That cloud, massive cloud, is just hanging there. It's just not doesn't want to move at all. I was thinking that maybe it's moving in that direction, and I'm trying to see, but it doesn't seem as if it's moving absolutely at all. It's like stuck there. So someone had put the sticking tape on it, kind of, and it's just there, right? So I think maybe there you can see it a bit better. But through the cloud, you can see still there's see different peaks. The highest ones are ultimately over there. There's some peaks over there, and there's some part that's sticking out with the snow on it. But of course, everything is white. You can't really see it, but it is there, right? And I'm pretty sure you will be able to see some of it. It's not as good as it would have been without the cloud, understandably. But you know, one can't do anything. What God gives is what God gives. I would rather use in maybe this example of the cloud covering the mountain, and ultimately with God here on the mountain, the mountain is covered because God is giving. So I don't think Moses is standing at the moment up on the top of that hill because first he won't be able to breathe. It's the air is too thin there. You need oxygen. And then, well, I mean, Moses did and God did. The word of God's been fulfilled. There's no been finalized. So there's no that's not being done anyhow. But I mean, just kind of kidding about that. But imagine again, I'm saying, imagine that scenario where that cloud is covering the mountain and Moses kind of underneath, and God is speaking to him. And there's lots still more is going to follow, where this is going to happen with God speaking to Moses and giving while he's on top of the mountain for 40 days. Now, I don't think that cloud's going to suck around for 40 days, but I won't be able to see it because I need to leave here soon. So, and it's a bit far, kind of a little bit out of town. Now, although you can take a shared taxi and come here, which is I think about 70 or so rupees down from downtown to the taxi stand in MG Mark, Mahatma Gandhi, the MG stands for. There's two statues of him there. And Mark is then street in Hindi. Or Nepali? I don't know exactly, sorry for that. I'm just informed yesterday Mark is street, but not which language. Right, so let's look at the introduction to Exodus chapter 21. It follows up on the Decalogue, the 10 words. And now here we already see a further declaration or further amendments. Well, it's not really amendments to the law or the amendments to the Constitution, American Constitution, and all of that, right? But this is a clarification maybe of certain laws because, for example, there's idea of do not murder. So there's going to be words spoken in this concerning that. Honor your parents, the words concerning that. There is as well address slavery. Because it started off with they were slaves in previous chapter 20, that they were slaves and God set them free from slavery. So they were not set free from slavery by God so that they now can go out and make other slaves. At least not the same kind of slaves. More servanthood than anything else. See, and this chapter, I mean, like so much in the I sometimes just really can't understand people. They always try to find something else, something wrong with everyone. It's like there's one guy who recently read about how Jesus is so evil. Why? Because he cursed the fig tree. Well, Jesus is evil because he cursed the fig tree. He couldn't find food on it, so he cursed the fig tree, and that makes him evil. The logic, right? The logic. I hope that guy never steps on any single little animal out of anger and kills it, because then he's evil. Right? Firstly, that fig tree, I don't want to go into this too so much, but I mean, it's just nonsense. We'll get to the fig tree thing still when I get to Mark or other Gospels. That's not John. And slavery. This chapter has a lot to do, at least the beginning with slavery. And they think of the old, again, this God in the Old Testament's evil. He's all for slavery because he's speaking so much about the laws and then slavery. And instead of just saying slavery is bad, don't have slaves. Right. Well, we think we're so advanced today that we don't fall for any traps like that, so we don't have slaves. There are more slaves today on this planet than there's ever in all of history combined. At least so I was told. Right? Lots of people think of slavery, like I always say, like people putting chains stolen from Africa being sold by the Arabs, traders going into Africa, going to the tribes, and then buying from other tribes, the conquered tribal people, and then taking to the sea and then selling them on to the Brits or whoever, who then puts them in chains and ship them off to America, where they are held for life and anything they can do, the owners over there can do anything with them, not pay them anything, and basically they owe them. Right, so that's often more than slavery they think of. But that's not the kind of slavery that even in Egypt, that was not the kind of slavery they had. Why? Because they didn't put the Hebrews in chains, the Jews in chains in Egypt, right? Yes, they were not paid what they were worth. They were mistreated, abused. Kids were thrown, boys were thrown into the river. All those kinds of things. Yes, lots of evil things were done to them, but it was not even in a sense as bad as it was like there. You know, it's like that kind of chattel slavery. I think this is a lot more comparable to like this one commentary that he used the whole time comparing it to service in the army, right? Where you have a contract army and you go and you get paid to serve in the army. Right? It's not that you're forced into. You don't have enough money, or you can while you're serving you can study, and you get a bursary because or stipend because you're in the army, and now you can use it for studying, so you can get out of that loop of poverty in a sense. But, so this is kind of comparable to the slavery that is mentioned here, ultimately. Yeah, so yeah, you need to understand, and ultimately this is therefore this kind of slavery. And even in this kind of slavery, there are exit clauses, as we're going to see during the study. Right, and then it moves on from the whole idea of slavery to and the rules or regulations concerning slavery, and to killing people by accident or by design. Then it as well addresses the idea of honoring your parents. If you curse at them, and I will look at what that means, right? It's not just a question of you out of anger tells them off or something like that, right? There's then out there the chapter moves over onto what happens in animals, so like an ox gore kills someone, or someone digs a pit and then people fell into that. And I'll never forget this story that happened there in Russia with, and I've told it in some of the other videos, but I'll just repeat it here because it's part of the context. We had our so-called red shop and white shop in the town. The red shop was a little bit closer to the white shop from my home. I mean, they were just opposite the road of each other, but the one was kind of this side of the road from where my house was. And so, yeah, the white shop wanted the red shop closed so that they are the only shop in town. They can ask whatever, especially in the tourist season. And so they contacted their friends in the hygienic department or whatever. I mean, all the, and they came and they told, oh, you don't have a hole for your garbage. You need to dig a hole for your garbage disposal. And so until you do that, you're closed. And with some other things wrong as well, but that was one of the things. So they did dig this hole, and they did dig this hole, and ultimately, and then after doing all of these regulations, they were kind of allowed to open again, and understandably giving some bribe money. That's just how it works in Russia. There in the villages, unluckily. And then the winter came. The hole was filled up with snow. They left the sides with the soil they dug out to just kind of to the sides, and the hole was filled up with the snow, and that was fine, no problem. And then, and because the ground is hard and everything, but then spring came, the snow started melting, the dirt was slippery because it's clay mostly, and so this little girl, I don't know, 5 years old or so, 6, she walked past there, and to take a shortcut, kind of walk just on the side of the dirt to the other side, but she slipped on the dirt, so she fell into the hole, and by that stage the snow, it was full of water, full of ice water. So she drowned. Right? It's something like kind of in this case now it's about an animal falling. In that case it wasn't an animal, it was a human being falling in. So another thing that comes out in this is what they call lex talionis. In other words, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth kind of law. And we will look at that. And I've already mentioned this well a number of times. It's actually grace. So praise God for that. So yes, this is basically what this chapter is about. And we will look at why it comes after the previous. I mean, it makes sense because they were slaves. Now they're immediately, then the most important part is out, the 10 in the Decalogue. And now they can move on to something that they easily could have copied from the people before. Because so many nations, when they are living in bondage, and then they get their independence, then they turn around and enslave those. Like in South Africa, for example, we were totally wrong with apartheid, totally. There's no justification for it. I mean, I know we have some sort of explanation for it and kind of, but ultimately there's no moral justification. Doesn't matter what you say. But these days we have, you know, we enslave them. Now we, in lots of places, especially in the business world, can't get our state run, right? Can't get jobs because of the color of our skin. So just the opposite. Yeah, I don't even want to go into politics of this country, but I'd rather speak about that. So unluckily, that's just kind of life. And yes, unluckily as well, this cloud is not moving anywhere, and it's just stuck on that mountain. That is the introduction to Exodus. Sorry, Exodus chapter 20. Oh, by the way, I can just kind of walk around here. You can see a little bit more of the Tashi viewpoint here in Gangtok. Oh, yeah, there's still people don't know COVID time is over because there's still the police wear masks and wash hands regularly and all kinds of nonsense. Yeah, COVID for me will always be a pain and blemish in human consciousness. But anyhow, yeah, the other side here and this side, and this direction doesn't always follow all the way through. It's actually now one of the other peaks, but this is just behind the tree there. It's now sticking out, but that's not the tallest one. It's more over there.